Hello everyone, this is my newest 5 string. This is Roma, number 208, and yep, she's got the 5 strings, and she's a sweetheart. In today's video, I want to go over some of the dimensions. I've been asked by several people about what are my dimensions of my 5 strings. So I want to touch on that a little bit before I play her for you. But just want to show you how pretty she is, I think. And this nice flame. It's kind of like chestnut brown with golden highlights underneath of it. I actually used a new technique in finishing this violin. It's new to me. It's ancient technique, but it's called the glazing method. I use artist-grade oil pigments and high-grade linseed oil, drying oil, and I get a golden ground with dye first on the bare wood, and then I rub it with the mixture of 4 different colors of the oil pigments: burnt sienna, burnt ochre, 2 other colors, and mix them up, and then rub it to where it's almost all gone on the wood, and it leaves a kind of a translucent coloring. And then the artist grade linseed oil, it's highly refined. It's not the hardware type of linseed oil you get. It dries, and after it dries, I do a clear coat of handmade oil varnish to protect it and keep the colors from ever rubbing off. And that is my, I also do a ground coat, first of all, so none of the oil seeps into the wood, which destroys the tone. But anyway, it came out really nice. I still like that antique effect on violins that I make. I don't like just a real plain 1 color top. I like a multicolored top. It's just more fun to look at. And but that glazing method apparently has been used for centuries, and by instrument makers and furniture makers as well as artists. So it's a very nice technique because it's very forgiving. If you mess up, you wipe it all off and start over again. And so anyway, that's the finish. But anyway, I wanted to tell you about the most important dimension that people ask about is the width of the neck at the nut. And the typical width that I use is about 24.5 millimeters wide, which gives me the ability to still put my string slots in the nut. I'm sorry for my hands. I have oil pigment on my hands from my last fiddle I'm working on. But anyway, I'm sorry for my dirty hands. But it's not dirt. It's oil pigment. Anyway, I still am able to get my strings 5 millimeters apart from each other, which is standard for violins. So you don't have that squeezed in feeling like if you put a 5th string on a violin and the neck's not wide enough and all the strings are tight squeezed together, they're hard to finger and hard to play, hard to get used to. So it's pretty much, it'll feel like a violin up here as far as the width is a little bit wider, but pretty close to a violin, and the string spacing is the same. So you won't feel a whole lot of difference up here with your left hand intonation and fingering. As far as intonation, the scale length, which is the distance of the strings from the nut to the bridge, where the string goes over the bridge, is on this violin, it's 328 millimeters long. Typically with violins, with 4-string violins, the scale length is anywhere from 327 to 330 millimeters long. So it falls within that, and it doesn't affect the intonation. If you're used to playing a 4-string violin, your double stops and playing up the neck will feel the same positioning. As far as the string distance width from the strings from each other at the bridge, I pretty much leave them the same too, and as a 4-string violin. The only difference, and I actually use a standard violin bridge, not a viola bridge, and so the C string and the E string are closer to the very ends or edges of the bridge, which doesn't have any effect at all on playing. So anyway, when I build a 5-string, I try to keep it as close as I can to a 4-string, so the person doesn't feel like they're having to play a viola all of a sudden. The body dimensions are the same. The length and width of the body is the same as I use for my 4-string. Same with the rib height. There's no change with that. The only change you'll see is from standard is the C-bouts are longer, a little bit longer, and they're not as curved. They're not as C-curved. They're straighter across here, more like a Baroque. The reason I do that is, and that's on purpose, that's intentional. I patterned my violins after, this is like a hybrid of two models. It's the early Guarneri del Gesù model and the French maker named Dirazi, who made violins that really sounded, both the Guarneris and the Dirazis have that sound that I love. And I modeled it after that. And so I'm going to pause this. Someone's at my door, and I'll be right back. Hold on.